Welcome to part 24 of the Ultimate Unsolved Mysteries Iceberg. In this series, we deep dive cases including true crime, mysterious disappearances, myths and legends, strange events, internet mysteries, and more. Is there an active serial slayer in Austin, Texas? This is a great suggestion from subscriber My Mind Went AWOL. Thank you for this great current and ongoing mystery. The series of tragic events at Lady Bird Lake in Austin, Texas, has sparked a widespread discussion, particularly focusing on the theory surrounding a potential serial wrongdoer targeting individuals. There is now a strong belief in many online communities, including on YouTube and on TikTok, that a serial slayer is active in the region. And yes, you heard that right. I just called serial slayers, quote, serial wrongdoers. The euphemism treadmill keeps on churning. There are numerous proposed victims of this perpetrator, with many of the bodies remaining unidentified at present. The internet has dubbed this potential serial slayer the Rainy Street Ripper, though his victim profile bears no resemblance to Jack the Ripper's. The ages of these individuals range primarily from their 20s to 30s, though there were potential outliers. Most incidents occurred in proximity to the Rainy Street Entertainment District, a common factor contributing to public speculation. Investigations by the Austin Police Department and Travis County Medical Examiner have concluded several of these cases as accidental. That said, if you're this far in this series, you know by now that the quote, accidental designation is no exact science. Similarities in several cases, such as the vicinity to Rainy Street and timeframes, fueled public speculation. However, the police have consistently found no evidence suggesting the involvement of a serial wrongdoer. Instead, the Austin police have urged the public to be cautious around Lady Bird Lake for other reasons. They have highlighted issues like poor visibility at night and the dangers of combining alcohol with proximity to water. The community's response has been significant, with a surge in attention on social media and among local residents. While many incidents at Lady Bird Lake have been declared unrelated by authorities, this conclusion could inadvertently serve as a smokescreen for a potential serial wrongdoer. This theory posits that by leveraging the police's stance of no connection between the events, a perpetrator could continue to operate under the guise of random tragic accidents. Austin's vibrant nightlife and the close proximity of Rainy Street to the lake's edge offer a conducive setting for such tragic incidents. Nighttime visibility issues and the influence of alcohol are legitimate concerns that have been linked to several cases. However, the repetitive nature of these incidents, particularly around the same locale and demographic, definitely raises the question of whether a more sinister pattern is at play. The skepticism among some family members and the community further fuels the speculation. For instance, in the case of Martin Gutierrez, a 25-year-old man found in a deceased state in 2018, Martin had a contusion of unknown origin on the back of his head. At any rate, based on the evidence so far, it doesn't appear to be possible to say for certain whether there's a serial slayer active in the area. I will say, though, that the individuals targeted are not the general targets for serial slayers. Serial slayers tend not to target young, strong men, and the reason is that most of them are cowardly and opportunistic predators. Serial wrongdoers tend to target individuals who can't meaningfully fight back, or who are, on a probabilistic basis, unlikely to have anyone to advocate for them. However, theorists have speculated that the Lady Bird Lake serial slayer may be using an undetectable drug to render the victims in a stupor. Let me know in the comments what you think of this hypothesized serial slayer, Giglioli's whale. This is another fantastic suggestion from community member Lauren Redmond. You're really on a roll with these suggestions lately. The Giglioli's whale has sparked interest and controversy since its first and essentially only sighting in the 19th century. Its defining characteristic, the presence of two dorsal fins, sets it apart from any known species of whale. The legend of the Giglioli's whale began on September 4th, 1867. Italian zoologist Enrico Hillier Giglioli, aboard the warship Magenta, observed an unusual whale approximately 1,200 miles off the coast of Chile. Giglioli noted that the whale possessed two dorsal fins, a feature unprecedented amongst whales. The whale was noted to be extremely large, at approximately 60 feet. This single sighting sparked decades of speculation and mystery regarding the creature's existence and classification. The concept of a whale with two dorsal fins is not entirely without precedent in marine biology. There have been instances of dolphins exhibiting abnormal fin structures due to genetic mutations or other anomalies. For example, there have been reports of dolphins or whales off the coast of New South Wales, Australia, that appeared to have additional dorsal fins. These sightings were initially thought to be evidence of Giglioli's whale or a related species, but were later attributed to genetic defects or possible misidentifications. The idea that Giglioli's whale could be a unique species has been met with skepticism for several reasons. Foremost, the double dorsal structure simply doesn't exist amongst any extinct or extant dolphin or whale. Simply put, a whale exhibiting an extra dorsal fin would be like a hominid exhibiting four arms. We can say with certainty that hominids don't exhibit four arms, but always exhibit two arms. And how do we know this? From observations of every hominid species ever. Further, it has now been 150 years since the initial sighting, and there have been no credible sightings in the meantime. Further, it is important to remember that for a large portion of that 150 years, the oceans were essentially harvested nearly dry of whales. Despite the endless harvest of whales from the 19th century to the middle of the 20th century, never once was a double dorsal whale reported. Further yet, the Giglioli's whale is supposed to be 60 feet long, from the one observation noted. Unlike other sea creatures, whales don't have the luxury of chilling in the depths. These guys need to come up for air on a regular basis. Again, despite this, no one has ever seen the supposed whale again. I've got a few thoughts on what Giglioli observed. And of course, given his standing within his academic field, it's irresponsible to simply discount his sighting. This isn't your Uncle Bob going out on a 2-hour whale watching excursion and claiming he saw a whale with, quote, two fins on top. Giglioli's observation of a two-finned whale might be incorrect due to several factors. The most likely factor is the potential of seeing two whales briefly swimming in tandem, creating the double dorsal optical illusion. Interestingly, this commonly happens with dolphins. Furthermore, human perception under unique or stressful circumstances, like being in the South Pacific on a ship in the 19th century, could have altered his perception. Finally, there's always the potential that Giglioli simply fabricated or exaggerated the sighting for academic clout and prestige. Picture this. You're in the middle of the South Pacific in what is one of the absolutely most remote places on Earth, even today. Seriously, there's points in the South Pacific where if you were placed there alone, the nearest human being would be on the International Space Station. So you're Giglioli and you've already got a good academic reputation, but you know what you could always use? Just a little more clout. And what better way to acquire it as a 19th century zoologist than to discover a new 60-foot whale that is completely unlike any whale ever discovered? But wait, you're asking, what if a scientific peer wants to see the whale and confirm the evidence of the whale themselves? Well, there's a very easy solution to that. Giglioli could just say, "Hey dude, definitely check out that whale named after me on your next 9-month round trip voyage to the South Pacific." In my view, the location of the sighting, along with the groundbreaking and extraordinary nature of the sighting, raises the specter that Giglioli, the eminent scientist, may have made it all up. And hey, If he did, I guess he won, because here I am, a century and a half later, talking about a whale that almost certainly cannot even theoretically exist, based on known whale morphology. It's your boy Jimmy here, the YouTuber behind the Lazy Chill Zone channel. If you're enjoying my content, please hit the like and subscribe buttons and the notification bell. My goal is to create the most expansive iceberg series in YouTube history, so get on board for the ride. Also, consider signing up for a YouTube membership, joining the Patreon, and joining the Discord. The Curse of the Hope Diamond. The Hope Diamond, renowned for its stunning beauty, also carries a reputation shadowed by misfortune and sorrow, dubbed the Curse of the Hope Diamond. The origins of the curse trace back to Jean-Baptiste Tavernier, a 17th century French merchant. He may have acquired the original 115-carat blue diamond, then known as the Tavernier Blue, under dubious circumstances from the eye of a Hindu statue in Golconda in India. According to lore, following its theft, a series of misfortunes are said to have afflicted Tavernier, including a fever leading to his death. In the alternative, other tellings indicate that he was ripped apart by a pack of wolves or wild dogs. However, actual historical records indicate he passed away at 84 years of age, an extremely healthy age for a 17th century adventurer. But wait, there's more. Actual historical accounts seem to suggest that he may have simply purchased the diamond legitimately from an Indian merchant in Golconda. This would make sense given that during the 17th century, the Golconda Sultanate was the source of virtually all of the world's freshly minted ultra-high-quality diamonds. King Louis XIV, the Sun King, became another notable owner, purchasing the gem from Tavernier and renaming it the French Blue. He had the diamond recut, reducing it to a mere 69 carats. Some sources attempt to portray the diamond as negatively impacting his reign, but he acquired the diamond in 1668 and owned it the remainder of his life. His reign of 72 years, 110 days, is the longest reign of any monarch in human history. Further, during his reign, France was at the absolute zenith of its power, with the exception of possible, unsustainable moments from Napoleon's reign. Even further yet, Louis XIV did this, in a time when he was the absolute ruler of France. Okay, so this curse is looking rather weak so far, but maybe he would have a few more years, but for the ownership of the Hope Diamond. Two owners of the Hope Diamond definitely did meet rather ill fates, however, Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette. That said, any rational explanation for why the Hope Diamond caused their heads to depart from their bodies non-consensually is sorely lacking. I note that Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette were undoubtedly amongst the richest people in the world, possessing nearly unheard of amounts of wealth. They surely possessed some other item which may have had a competing curse. The Hope family themselves possessed it from 1830 to 1902, when the Lord Francis Hope was forced to sell it to settle debts. But then the night before he was about to complete the sale, a malicious red squirrel entered his bedroom and gnawed through his carotid artery, ending him in a horrific and painful fashion. No, wait, that didn't happen. Lord Francis Hope proceeded with the sale and later became the 8th Duke of Newcastle. He thereafter lived out his life on his 3,800-acre English country estate near Sheffield. Yet another victim of this horrific curse. Had he not had the Hope Diamond, perhaps the estate would have been double the size. Personally, I'm not even sure how one duke even managed to survive on such a puny little property. Harry Winston, one of the wealthiest diamond traders in history, so successful that he was called the, quote, King of Diamonds, was the last non-institutional owner of the Hope Diamond. So surely Winston must have had some horrific fate befall him, right? Nope. He donated the diamond to the Smithsonian in 1958 because guess what? The man simply had too much money and too many diamonds. He lived till age 82, passing away in 1978. Today, the Hope Diamond is housed at the National Museum of Natural History in Washington, D.C., drawing crowds eager to glimpse the legendary gem. The entire narrative of misfortune attached to the Hope Diamond appears to be tied to a 1911 New York Times article, which was clearly not fact-checked whatsoever. The article ascribes numerous misfortunes to numerous people who never owned the diamond. To quote the great Jonathan Frakes, "It's false. No way. We made this one up. No. Pure fiction. It's a total fabrication. It never happened. It's an urban legend." The high-finned sperm whale. This cryptid is another recommendation from Lauren Redmond. Thanks for another amazing whale suggestion. This creature is said to be a relative of the known sperm whale, but with an unusually tall dorsal fin, setting it apart from its more common relatives. Its existence has been a subject of debate, with sightings and reports adding to the mystery. The first recorded observation of this enigmatic whale dates back to 1687, when Sir Robert Sibbald described a stranded female on Orkney, an island off the northeast coast of Scotland. He noted that its dorsal fin resembled a, quote, mizzen mast, which I had to look up. To translate this term into more relatable English, this means that the whale's dorsal fin resembled the large rear sail of a ship. Despite this early account, skepticism has prevailed, with prominent naturalists like Georges Cuvier discounting such claims due to the lack of concrete evidence. Further adding to the cryptid's lore, a sighting was reported on September 27, 1946, near Nova Scotia, Canada, where locals observed the creature trapped in the area for 2 days. However, estimates of the dorsal fin's length varied dramatically, ranging from 10 feet to 100 feet, which naturally contributed to skepticism regarding the creature's existence. Much like our previous whale discussed, critics argue that if such a distinctive and large species were real, it likely would have been encountered and documented by modern commercial whalers. Theories about the high-finned sperm whale's existence include the possibility of genetic mutations within the general sperm whale population. Other theories include optical illusions. It's difficult to judge the size of things at sea without the proper navigational tools, leading to misidentifications. Anyway, in my view, if any, quote, high-finned sperm whales have existed, they were genetic anomalies. I'm very open to oceanic cryptids. However, whales present a unique exception to this openness as previously discussed. Whales must come up for air, and when they come up for air, they are prone to being seen by sailors. For a cryptid whale population to exist, they would have to inhabit some of the absolute most remote locations where no shipping vessels or military vessels travel. In my view, the case of the high-finned sperm whale can be comfortably closed at this point. Japan Airlines Flight 350. Japan Airlines Flight 350, a domestic scheduled passenger flight from Fukuoka to Tokyo, experienced a catastrophic incident on February 9, 1982. Operated by Japan Airlines, the flight utilized a McDonnell Douglas DC-8 aircraft. This event resulted in 24 fatalities among the 166 passengers and 8 crew members aboard. The flight commenced from Fukuoka Airport, aiming for Haneda Airport in Tokyo Bay. However, the journey met an unexpected and disastrous end during the aircraft's approach to its destination. Reports highlight a distressing situation in the cockpit. Captain Seiji Katagiri, age 35, initiated the descent phase by disengaging the autopilot. He subsequently took actions to deliberately crash land the plane. Efforts by First Officer Yoshifumi Ishikawa and Flight Engineer Yoshimi Ozaki to regain control of the aircraft proved futile. The DC-8's descent could not be stabilized, resulting in a crash landing in shallow waters just short of the runway. The impact was severe enough to detach the cockpit section from the rest of the fuselage, causing it to come to a halt only after traversing several meters. The aftermath of the crash revealed a very troublesome backstory and a pilot who experienced an unfortunate mental health decline. Captain Katagiri was later found to have paranoid schizophrenia, a condition not detected or properly addressed by medical examinations prior to the incident. This oversight led to significant scrutiny and criticism of Japan Airlines' medical and psychological evaluation processes for their crew members. In light of his medical condition, Katagiri was ruled not guilty by reason of insanity following the incident. After spending numerous years in a forensic psychiatric ward, he has since been released from psychiatric care and is now an entirely free man. I note that while it's known that Katagiri was suffering from a mental health break, the exact reason why he crashed the plane isn't clear. It's important to remember that when someone is acting within the framework of psychosis, they may take actions that seem entirely rational within their psychosis-induced mental framework. That said, there is no suggestion that he actively had any malice towards the people he unfortunately ended up slaying. The Slaying of Betty Conley. This is a recommendation from subscriber Bradley Harrington. I note that despite the horrific nature of this slaying, virtually nothing has been reported on the issue. In the early hours of July 8, 1993, Betty Conley, a 37-year-old store clerk, was found shot to death at the Charlton Extra Mart in Saratoga County, New York. The incident occurred at approximately 3 a.m., during what would have been a typical overnight shift for Conley. Unfortunately, there were no security cameras in operation at the time of this slaying. Compounding this difficulty, there are no known witnesses to this incident whatsoever. The exact circumstances that led to her being found remain an investigative secret, with details scarce. While $100 was stolen from the cash register, robbery is not speculated to be the motive given the paltry sum involved. However, the robbery may have taken place to act as a smokescreen for the true cause of the slaying. Personally, given the horrific and seemingly random nature of this case, I speculate that Betty was likely the victim of a serial slayer who was acting opportunistically. The case is still being actively investigated by the Saratoga County Sheriff's Office, and anyone with information or evidence is encouraged to reach out to the Sheriff's Office immediately. Dwarves. Dwarves are, in modern terminology, hominid cryptids rooted in Germanic folklore, portrayed in a variety of roles ranging from mischievous beings to skilled craftsmen and metalworkers. In folklore, dwarves are depicted in various ways, often depending on the cultural context. For instance, in Germanic and Scandinavian mythology, they are typically seen as dwelling inside mountains or underground. They are also depicted as extremely skilled in metallurgy and crafting magical objects. They generally appear depicted as short men with long beards. Notably, they were believed to live in organized societies with their own kings and tribes, which existed parallel to human society. Norse mythology particularly highlights dwarven craftsmanship, responsible for creating the gods' most cherished artifacts, such as Odin's spear Gungnir and Thor's hammer Mjolnir. Despite their skills and contributions, dwarves were often viewed with a mixture of awe and distrust, attributed to their reclusive nature and association with the supernatural. Dwarves were once frequently sighted in areas formerly practicing Norse religion, even centuries after Christianization. While the belief in the old gods may have waned and virtually disappeared, folk beliefs in creatures such as dwarves continued onwards. Also, it almost goes without saying that J.R.R. Tolkien introduced dwarves into the canon of modern fantasy literature, and their influence has only spread from there. The Ship of Theseus. The ship of Theseus is an ancient Greek paradox originating from the mythological story of the Greek hero of the same name. The paradox is presented as a hypothetical scenario. Imagine a ship, known as the ship of Theseus, which over time has every single one of its parts replaced. The central question then arises: after all the original parts have been replaced, is it still the same ship, or has it become something entirely new? This thought experiment, rooted in ancient philosophy, challenges our understanding of what it means for something to remain the same, despite undergoing complete material change. Philosophers have attempted to navigate this puzzle through various approaches. One popular resolution suggests that while the material composition of an object like the ship may change, the structure is what defines the object, and thus it remains the same. Additionally, cognitive science approaches the paradox from the perspective of human perception. This approach considers the ship of Theseus not as a tangible entity, but as an organizational structure perceived with continuity through time. Moreover, the paradox has been illustrated in everyday examples to make its implications more relatable. Examples include the gradual replacement of parts in a car, or the evolution of a band's lineup, where despite changes, there remains a thread of continuity based on functionality or collective memory. The Atlas bear. The Atlas bear was North Africa's only native bear, primarily inhabiting the Atlas Mountains from Morocco to Libya. Adults could reach up to 9 feet in length and weigh between 800 to 1,000 pounds, feeding mostly on roots, fruits, and insects, although they were capable of eating meat. This species is considered extinct, with the last confirmed kill recorded in 1870 in Morocco's Tétouan Mountains. Historically, the Atlas bear's existence as a distinct population was in doubt, with some theories suggesting they were feral European bears brought by the Romans. However, discoveries of ancient bear skeletons, dating back to 7000 BC in Algerian caves, have dispelled such theories, confirming their native presence long before Roman influence. Reports from the Roman era and Arabic literature further affirmed their existence, referring to them as Numidian bears. This is to say that nowhere in the Roman sources or later Arabic sources were the bears speculated to be European immigrants to North Africa. Regarding sightings, while the Atlas bear is officially classified as extinct, there have been anecdotal reports extending into the 20th century. These sightings have often been dismissed as misidentified animals within the bear's historic range. However, a recent claim from 2016 suggested a sighting in the forests in Algeria, sparking debates and speculation about the bear's extinction status. However, my review of the evidence indicates that this, quote, bear sighting was just a hyena. Please pause your video now to look at the, quote, bear on the screen and compare it to brown bears. The muzzle is totally off and the ears are an entirely different shape. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Also, check out the Patreon and the YouTube membership. Your support allows me to take on more difficult topics that risk demonetization. Remember to hit the playlist to see dozens of hours of Unsolved Mysteries content. Also, join up with the community in the Discord. The link is in the description. Shout out to my patrons Kazak Cutie, Kurt the Squirt, Monoxide Wendigo, Jeffer Metcalf, Z-Volts, Director Delta, Unknown Delusions, and Blasphemous. Also, big shout out to YouTube members Jordan All and Syntax Nexus. Also, to every viewer and listener, I love you a ton, and you make this all possible. Until next time, stay safe and healthy. Peace out, everyone.